It was an ordinary day, and a young high school boy named Takashi Komura was feeling kind of depressed because his childhood crush, Rie Miyamoto, who had promised to marry him, had grown distant. As a result, he spent his time cutting classes and reflecting on his past. Suddenly, a pink-haired girl named Saya Takagi approached Takashi and started insulting him, calling him stupid, but he couldn't care less about her at that moment. Just then, something happened that grabbed his attention. At the school gate, an individual was trying to get through, but a group of teachers attempted to send him away. However, the man resisted, and when one teacher tried to push him, he ended up attacking the teacher, turning into a violent undead and spreading the zombie virus. Witnessing the chaos, Takashi realized things were getting worse and hurriedly went to Rie. He urged her to leave with him without explaining the situation, but Rie refused, prompting Takashi to slap her. This action shook Rie and boys named Hisashi Agu, making them start listening to him. Meanwhile, panic spread across the school as the situation was announced. Students started pushing and shoving in an attempt to flee. Eventually, the majority of the school became infected with the zombie virus. In the midst of the chaos, Takashi, Rie, and Hisashi tried to reach the roof for safety. Along the way, a zombie attacked Rie, and although she tried to defend herself, Hisashi went to help her and was bitten by a zombie. Takashi intervened and killed the attacking zombie. Continuing their journey to the roof, they were met with the horrifying sight of the city in a state of devastation. Sadly, Hisashi began feeling ill, and he asked Takashi to push him over the edge so he could die as a human before turning into a zombie. Rie tried to stop Takashi from fulfilling Hisashi's request, but it was too late. Hisashi had turned into a zombie. With a heavy heart, Takashi killed him swiftly before he could harm Rie. Takashi felt remorseful since Hisashi used to be his friend, but Rie initially blamed him. However, she later apologized and they hugged, seeking solace in each other's embrace. Another pink-haired girl, Saya Takagi, was running away with a boy named Hirano Kauda. Whenever Hirano suggested an idea as they ran, Saya immediately shut him down and let him know how stupid he was. Meanwhile, Rai managed to get through to her dad using Takashi's phone. Her dad informed them that chaos was taking place everywhere and told them to get out of there. So the two of them started moving. Back in the nurse's office, a stunning school nurse named Shizuka Murakawa was saved by a silent beauty named Seiko Busujima, who was the president of a certain club, from a zombie who was about to attack her. On another front, Takashi and Rie came up with a plan to use the water hoses to restrict the zombies from reaching the rooftop. As a result, they left the rooftop, and along the way, Rie asked Takashi about their destination. Takashi told her that they would return to their homes to meet their families and also help others who had survived along the way. This was particularly important to Takashi, as his mother was a teacher at an elementary school. Meanwhile, Saya and Hirano found some tools in the workshop and used them to fend off the zombies. However, Saya realized something crucial. The zombies only responded to sound. Meanwhile, Seiko and Shizuka had to get the car keys from the staff room. In contrast, Saya used a drill to remove a zombie's head when it attacked. Terrified, she shouted, which drew Seiko, Shizuka, Takashi, and Rie to the scene. After defeating the zombie, Saya cried. The six of them grouped up, focusing on finding a way to escape. Their goal was to ensure their family's safety. The group started moving and on their way, and they came across another group of survivors. They let them join their group. After this, Takashi tried to test Saya's hypothesis, which stated that zombies only react to sound. So he bravely walked in front of the zombies without making noise. It turned out that Saya was right. Zombies only reacted to sound. They all silently moved through that part, but another man accidentally made a sound, alerting the zombies. This caused many zombies to rush in, and they fought their way to the car. As they were about to ride, they encountered yet another group of survivors led by a suspicious teacher named Shiru Koichi. However, Gray had a bad feeling about this and didn't want him to join, but they all came together. While they were riding, a disagreement arose and a scuffle took place. After riding for a while, Shiru proposed that they appoint a leader. Many people on the bus voted for Mr. Shiru due to his being a teacher and elder on the bus. However, Rei was not happy with this idea, so she decided to leave the car. Takashi immediately followed her. Suddenly, a bus full of zombies crashed in between Takashi, Rie, and the bus, separating them. As a result, the two managed to get away, but they told each other to meet at the station at 7 p.m. After that, the bus left. As Takashi drove the bike, he recalled how this nightmare began. Eventually, they came across a police car. They searched the car and acquired a gun for themselves. Later, while riding, they stopped at a station to get fuel. Consequently, Takashi left Rai outside and went inside to operate the gas. Suddenly, inside the station, Takashi heard screaming and rushed back. However, upon reaching outside, he found that Rie had been taken hostage by a survivor. Immediately, that survivor started mocking Takashi, prompting him to shoot the survivor in the shoulder. This allowed him to free Rie, but Rie was furious about the situation. Despite her anger, Takashi told her to leave. Out of nowhere, the guy screamed, alerting a horde of zombies. Immediately, a large number of zombies converged on the guy, taking care of him. The following day, Takashi and Rie continued moving forward. Meanwhile, at the airport, another sniper lady named Rika Minami was busy killing zombies. She and her friends were helping survivors evacuate. Back on the bus, Saya, Shizuka, Harano, and Yurikoma decided to leave. However, Harano expressed his anger to the teacher, Mr. Shigao, before they departed. As a result, the four of them left the bus and headed to the bridge but ended up being caught by zombies. They tried to attack and kill the zombies, but Takashi and Rie, who happened to arrive on a bike to help them, assisted them. When the two of them showed up, the zombies were taken care of in a short time and all six of them reunited. At night, Shizuka mentioned her friend's apartment as a place for the group to sleep since they needed shelter for the night. After a while, they reached the apartment, but it appeared that her friend wasn't there. However, there were still some zombies lurking around the building, so they took care of them before securing the place. With the apartment cleared, the girls refreshed themselves in the bath while the boys checked the weapons and ammunition in the household. Takashi turned on the screen to see what was going on, but they witnessed a clash between the police and a group of people who believed that the pandemic was constructed by the US and Japanese governments. After watching this, Takashi and Harano became even more hopeless and turned off the TV. Back at the apartment, Takashi had to deal with Rie and Shizuka, who were both drunk. Suddenly, Shizuka showed up, covering herself with a blanket, and started teasing Takashi and Harano. Then Rie and Takashi had an argument. Following their argument, Rie began to come on to Takashi, and the two kissed. However, a dog's barking and an approaching zombie squad that prevented them from going any further interrupted their moment. As they looked at the scene, they saw numerous zombies. Among them, a father and his daughter were running, desperately seeking shelter. The man originally knocked on a door, pleading for it to be opened, but tragically, upon opening, he was mistaken for a zombie and fatally stabbed, leading to his demise. The young girl's heart-wrenching cries echoed outside as she mourned her father. Regrettably, her screams attracted a horde of zombies. In response, Harano skillfully employed his sniping abilities to eliminate the encroaching zombies. Faced with no alternative, Takashi and the girls readied themselves to depart from this perilous location. The group climbed into a car with Takashi pausing to place a flower on the deceased man's body. At this point, the streets were inundated with zombies, making it impossible to remain in the apartment. Takashi picked up the girl named Alice and took the dog named Zeke. Then they carefully traversed a fence, evading the zombies' advances until they safely reached their destination. Fortunately, Seiko and the others came to their rescue, ensuring their safety. The following day, the ride from the other side of the river was luckily devoid of any zombies. However, since the girls were in seductive nightwear, Shizuka gave her friends a bunch of clothes that they could now wear. Not only that, but the girls also equipped themselves with guns. Their next checkpoint was Seiya's residence, since it happened to be the closest. As they rode, a bunch of zombies stood in their way. Nevertheless, this didn't hinder them as they ran the zombies over and continued moving. At one point, they reached a dead end, forcing them to hit the brakes. Unfortunately, Rie, who was on top of the vehicle, couldn't handle the brakes and fell to the ground. This drew the zombies' attention, but Takashi stood his ground and controlled the zombies using his weapon. Seiya also came out and started shooting. However, the number of zombies was just too many, making them hard to control. Just in the nick of time, armed forces arrived and destroyed the remaining zombies. Fortunately, the person leading the armed forces was Seiya's own mother. Takashi and Rie were separated. Therefore, Seiko and Takashi started going to Seiya's house alone. As they were going, they encountered so many zombies that they had to run over them while in the jeep. This caused them to end up in the river. Unfortunately, this made Seiko wet in the process. Consequently, Seiko changed into her black clothes. Later, they abandoned the jeep at a fountain and engaged in combat with more zombies. When Seiko faced zombies that were children, she froze. However, Takashi intervened and fought the zombies instead. Afterward, they found shelter near a shrine where Seiko shared her story from the past. 4 years ago, a man tried to force himself on her. She managed to escape and ended up killing the man. Though she felt guilty, she also admitted to enjoying it. Reflecting on it now, she feels remorseful. It had been a day since Takashi and Seiko arrived at Seiya's house. It was now time for them to decide whether they wanted to stay there or venture out again. Takashi liked the idea of staying and becoming part of Seiya's father territory. However, Seiya, who was also at the house, rushed out. She was mad at her parents, especially her father, who had thought she had died in the school incident. He hadn't considered searching for her, which angered her. Takashi quickly went after Seiya because, unlike her, he knew that her parents were still alive. On the same day, Seiya's father suddenly arrived at the house. He staged an execution, making one of the zombies fight a friend in front of his people. Later, Seiya's father's men ganged up on Hirano. They demanded that he surrender his weapon to them. However, Hirano seemed unwilling to do so. Seiya's father appeared and asked Hirano about the extent of his abilities. Just then, Hirano's gang intervened and backed him up. Seiya, in particular, mocked her father by pointing out that unlike him, Hirano had been genuinely trying to protect her all along. Shido, however, appreciated the students for considering him their only salvation. Nonetheless, he decided to join Seiya's father's group, and they set out on their journey. At the estate, a group of people told Seiya, Takashi, and Hirano that her father's claims about zombies were nonsense. They believed he sought control and saw killing the affected individuals as the solution. Despite Seiya, Takashi, and Hirano's attempts to reason with them, they remained steadfast in their misguided beliefs. On another note, a man named Soichiro expressed gratitude to Seiko by giving her a prized katana for protecting his daughter and honoring her father's teachings. Later, Rie leaned on Takashi's arm while sitting on the bed, and Takashi, feeling insecure, was comforted when Rie assured him she would do anything for him. Though Takashi wished to kiss Rie and others, his injury remained a hindrance, so she left to check on it. Following that, Seiko, Rie, and Takashi prepared to leave, promising to return in 2 days after reuniting with their parents. Meanwhile, Shido sneaked into Seiya's group, benefiting from his affiliation with the Shido family. Rie's hostility towards Shido became clear as she attacked him. This animosity stemmed from Shido's father compelling her to repeat a grade due to her father's opposition to Shido's political aspirations. During the attack, Rie had the opportunity to end Shido's life, but realized he wasn't worth killing, resulting in his expulsion from the group. The US and Japanese naval forces teamed up to shoot down Chinese missile strikes after China launched a mix of its DF-21 ballistic missile variants in retaliation to the now-failed American preemptive nuclear strikes. However, one missile managed to penetrate through the joint US-Japanese air defenses, exploding somewhere in Japan. Riko was busy talking to her friend Shizuka, but their call was cut short because of an electromagnetic pulse resulting from the nuclear explosions. Computers and other electronic devices stopped working as well. Shido was busy driving the bus, but ended up crushing and destroying one of the barricades due to an EMP burst from the nuclear explosion. Machines and electronics near the blast broke down. With a giant horde of zombies approaching the mansion, Soichiro ordered the main gate to be closed. However, the overwhelming zombies breached the gate, causing panic among the survivors. Even the people who had opposed Soichiro and heckled Seiya, Koda, and Takashi in the previous episode were killed. With the mansion no longer safe, the Takages ordered their followers and the remaining survivors to fight and head to another safe area that had yet to be breached. The Takages left Seiya's safety to Takashi and the group as they fought their way to their Humvee, which was not affected by the EMP. With their ride fixed, the group left the mansion while the survivors fought off the horde. Despite the situation, the group remained optimistic as they finally arrived at a mall on foot.